Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the It Takes a Village podcast. I'm Ashley, your host. This is where the struggles are real, the callings are heavy, the kids are sticky. We come together because it takes a village, and this is your tribe. Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're having an awesome day. Today, I wanted to talk about basically handling the holidays because yesterday I had a little bit of a moment. I'm not going to lie. I was a very difficult person to be around. And I thought that going shopping, like you normally if I have to do the groceries and if I get to do those on my own and have some space and like time away, even though I'm, still grocery shopping, it usually helps me to reset. And that did not happen this weekend. I still had time to myself. And actually, when I came home, my husband had the kids clean up all their mess. Like Sundays is normally our cleanup day, and they know that that's the day I go grocery shopping. They stay home, they clean up, and like I just came home and it was immaculate. It was beautiful, and I was having such a hard time because I had all these things that I left to set out to do, all these errands and things that I wanted to do not only for the week but for the holidays. And so I felt like when I came back, they had accomplished like all these things and it looked great and it looked amazing. And here I came home with only like a few check marks off my list and I still felt the same. And I know I can't be the only one, so I wanted to talk about and be real and honest with you guys because it's always the little things that creep up and they nag at you, and you don't know that that's what's like digging under your skin until something festers it up, and you're like, oh, and you're in tears or you're yelling, or you just have a meltdown, which is basically what happened to me. So I think that there's a few things that we can do as I'm looking back that I can do better or that I'm thankful that I did. And the first one is to ask for help for sure. I think even if you can't verbalize what's going on, I think the number one thing that I was thankful that I did was tell my husband that I was struggling and, just kind of list to him. It was all the things like, worrying about our budget, but still wanting to have a good Christmas, having all these things to do. And being that I'm working full time now, only having the weekend to do it with these crowded malls and the crowded stores and all the lines, and letting them know like these are all the things that I feel like I need to get done. This is I I'm struggling with my feelings right now because I feel overwhelmed. I don't know what the deal is really. Like I can't 100% say it's this or it's that. I just know that I am feeling overwhelmed right now. The kids are fighting with each other. They are talking so much, which, I mean, like, these are things you don't want to admit that are really getting at you. But for me, it was just everything was just piling and it was adding on. And I was tired. That was probably the number one thing is I had been going to bed really late the whole past week and I never caught up. And so now I'm exhausted. My patience is low. I feel overwhelmed. And so I think just verbalizing all these things and for him to say, okay, I will handle all these things. You deal with, like what you need to go do. How can I make life easier for you? Like that was probably the best thing that he could have said. So women, if you want to tell your husbands to listen to this first 2 minutes of this episode, that is like the thing that they can do when you go to them and you say, I'm having a hard time. Like you can just feel your emotions. And at one point I was like, if I just cry, I know I'm gonna feel good, which I did. I watched The Ranch, and it was like the episode. I don't know if you guys watch it, and I hope I'm not spoiling it for you. So if you don't want to continue listening, spoiler alert, I'm gonna tell you. Um it's a new season where Danny Masterson is not on anymore. And so basically they're kind of showing their way of, how he got kicked off the show. And it was really sad. And so like I was crying and that actually felt really good because I was sad about the show, but I also needed to personally just have a good cry and just let it out. And so it was like killing two birds with one stone. Um, but yeah, I think that them just saying like, hey, I have no idea how to handle what you're going through. You don't want me, and I definitely didn't want him to solve my problems because I couldn't even pinpoint my problems. So for him to just say, let me do what I can do, I will handle the kids, and you just deal with yourself, basically, is what happened. But it was really helpful for me, and I think that that is something that's really helpful for our husbands. Also, during the holidays, having a plan, like I think the thing that I also did well was start to plan the gifts ahead of time so I'm not last minute shopping. I know you guys, I know we all struggle with it. Last year I did it way better to where I was done in like November and it was amazing. I didn't have to run around. But where I dropped the ball is not thinking about the teachers or now my coworkers, things like that. And that's what screwed me up this year was that I was like, oh man, I have Secret Santas to do and I have workers. So I had the kids done. I'm not worried about that, but now I'm freaking out because I have to buy things for people I don't really even know what to buy them. So I think, moving forward, that would be another tip is to plan earlier. Um, know your limits, be on the same page with each other when you're hosting a gathering for the holidays. We are hosting Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and I honestly couldn't give two shivs for like if we have a turkey or a ham. I do not care. I don't like turkey or ham, and so I'm the person that steps into the situations like, hey, let's just have finger foods. I don't care. That's like the easiest thing. But for other people, they really hold tight to the tradition and the things. And so if you're one of those people, for one, you shouldn't be making everything. Do not put that on yourself because I can't even imagine that. I'm making two simple things. It's at our house, and I didn't even like offer to make the turkey, which is probably host whatever one like host failure 101 or something. And I don't know, like if you're a hostess with the mostest, you probably make the turkey. I am not that person, and so for me to say I am not that person, I'm not going to try to be that person because it will become an awful situation. I don't want the holidays to be awful for me, so I'm making a side and a vegetable, and that's about it. And then Christmas Eve, we are doing Fiesta Christmas because it's so easy. And I don't want to eat I don't want to eat traditional, holiday food 2 days in a row. I'm weird like that. I don't know how it works for you guys. Maybe you enjoy all the elaborate things and spending time, but do not, what I'm saying, and hear me say this with love, do not do the things that you are not capable of doing. And know what you're capable of doing. At the same time, don't just do the least because you're lazy. Like, I think my goal in a lot of these things is to under promise and over deliver. So I'm saying I will make, these small two piddly sides, but I will, if I have time, I will definitely add to it. But I think not putting that pressure on myself initially, like not saying, I'm going to do the turkey and I'm going to do the stuffing and I'm going to do the sweet potatoes and I'm going to do the green beans and I'm going to do the, and I'm going to have this elaborate table setting and I'm going to come up with games for the kids or whatever. Like, if that happened, I think whatever it is, whether it's a mindset or that we put it out there and told people we would do it, then we feel obligated to do it. We feel pressured. We feel stressed out about it. Like it has to be perfect. But not doing that and just saying, hey, I'm going to do these two things, but in your mind, knowing if I have more time and I can accomplish other things, I will. It takes like 90% of the pressure off and it makes it a whole completely different situation in your mind. And it just does. I don't know. We're weird like that. It just matters how we put things out in the world. Another silly thing that I noticed yesterday when my kids were running around the dining table and it just seemed so perfect. Like the Christmas tree was lit, my emotions had come down. um, and we were just sitting and the kids were chasing each other and they were laughing. And then a huge thing that we probably miss over the holidays is knowing your anxiety triggers and knowing things like traumatic triggers that are going to come up during the holidays, because this is a time of joy and celebration and family and togetherness, but that is also why it hurts so much. So for me, when my kids were running around the table, I was like, man, like I could just visually see a toddler toddling behind, chasing after them like there was supposed to be three. Um, and so I didn't even realize that I was going to deal with that. And as silly as it sounds, like I didn't forget that I had a miscarriage. I just forgot that it would affect me in this scenario, even a year later. Like I don't think that amidst opening presents and doing the Christmas tree decorating and the house decorating that I would envision our life with a toddler doing those things. Um, but I did. And so I think that, hey, just preparing yourself to be able and giving yourself the freedom to feel those feelings. And I even mentioned to my husband, like, I had, when we were sitting there, I said, there's supposed to be three. And, he just gave me a hug. And I think just putting it out there and acknowledging what it is that is triggering underneath, And even though nothing was said, there wasn't a solution that needed to be made. It was just like, I hear you, and a hug for comfort, and then like you go on, but just knowing that, man, you're in crowded malls, you're shopping, you're going here and there, your emotions, you're exhausted, all these things, like for you to expect yourself to be 100% just on key and upbeat is kind of unrealistic. We have kids. I mean, come on. Like anything can happen and they're going to throw a fit. It's going to be a tantrum. It's going to be this or it's going to be that. And so I think also probably being more flexible and giving yourself more freedom for your feelings this time is how you probably are 100% going to survive the holidays. Um, and just knowing to give yourself space. I think if you're party hopping or back to back, like I think those things are non-negotiables when you're dealing with something and saying like I need time in between those things to recoup, to regather myself, to take a breath, to relax. And that's on you. I completely think that you as a mom, as a leader in your household with your husband or your spouse or your boyfriend or whatever, have a right to say I need a break. We can't do back to back. We're going to be late. Like I I completely so if your family gives you ish for showing up late, that's on them. That's their stuff. You have to do what's best for you. Um and I think doing things little by little and then after it passes expressing your feelings, letting people know, also being on the same page as a couple of what you need making sure that with his family your spouse has your back, with your family you're willing to stand up and do what's right for your family, and that you have your spouse's back. Those kind of things I think are really going to matter, because when it's chaos and there's traditions involved and there's grandparents involved and there's relatives and Aunt Betty and her ugly sweaters are involved and feelings are involved and you don't want to offend anybody, like it's just all a touchy few set of weeks, that you matter and you need to put yourself first. You need to put your family first and take care of you. And if that means that you step on a few toes, I feel personally you should do that. I feel like if you need permission, hear me say, you matter, you are important, you need to do what's best for you, your children, your family. I know my kids better than anybody else. My husband knows our kids better than anybody else. He can attest if that Christmas dinner is not until 7, our kids are going to lose their mind. Like we normally eat at this time, and I know that if we show up with unfed kids at that time, it's going to go down. They're going to run straight through the door and stick their head through the turkey because they're freaking starving. So, like, these are things you need to talk about. Hey, we have kids now, especially if you have kids now and your family isn't used to having kids. You adjust and you tell them, hey, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be messy. It's not going to go as planned. And you're just willing to accept that and ignore the comments that are made. I think that, something I've learned to do very early on with my family is to ignore them, because it's not a you issue, it's a them issue when they make comments and snarky remarks, and it's them not being willing to, open up to new ideas or to change or to see that, life changes, family dynamics change, and things should flex with that. And they're not willing to change for anybody, they're not willing to adjust. And so, man, that's on them, that's on you. And like I said, you guys have to do what you need to do and what your heart needs to do in this season. So, anyways, those are I kind of rambled on about that, but these are just my feelings, because yesterday, man, I was feeling so guilty and so ashamed about just being down, and I was bummed that I was down, and I had no idea why I was down. And honestly, I still couldn't tell you why. I just know that I was just bogged down with all the things. And when I was thinking about the holidays, I'm like, man, I know I'm not the only mom who's just like walking through Target like a zombie right now, trying to pick out gifts, trying to check off all your boxes on your list of food that you need to bring and gifts that you need to bring and all these things. When at the end of the day, like, it's gonna be okay. And this is just a season, it's just a couple of days. And so if you drop the ball on a few things, you drop the ball and you own it and you move on and you walk off the court like you're a badass. Like, it doesn't even matter It matters what you need to do for you. And if you need to cry, if you need to talk to your husband or your spouse or your friend, or you need to rearrange things or you need to say no to things, then like we need to do that for ourselves because we owe it to ourselves. We know ourselves the best. We know our kids the best. And yeah, I think I'm good on that. I think that's all I need to say about that. But I just wanted to let you guys know you're not alone. I hope you take a deep breath. So take a deep breath in the car or wherever you're listening to this. Tell yourself it's going to be okay. There's still enough time for Amazon Prime. You can still put mac and cheese from a box on the table on Christmas Day and cover it with Parmesan sprinkles to make it look like you homemade it. Like, it's going to be okay. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it was helpful. At the very least, I hope you feel less alone or maybe like you're not the only one freaking out over this holiday season. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.